Video journal entry 11, March 16th, 2025. I feel like I spent an insane amount of time this week thinking about iPads, which is something I did not see coming, but alas, there I was thinking about iPads damn near all week. I mentioned last week how I bought an iPad, but then I started to second guess my decision about which type of iPad that I bought because I really was thinking dang, I could do so much with this iPad now. Especially I was thinking that using Final Cut Pro on the iPad and stuff would really help my workflow, and I could do some cutting on the iPad and then bring it over to the MacBook, But then when I got the apps and I started using them, I was like, wait, no, that's not gonna work. It's not really efficiently done yet, the stage that the apps are in. So then I was like, wait, well then I spent this money, am I gonna use it as much as I think I am? So I started really second guessing and So then I was like, wait, maybe should I get the Air, or then should I get this model instead? And then I was thinking about it a lot. So I was just thinking about all the specs. Inevitably, I ended up staying with the model that I got. And I feel like what I did was very anti-abundant, but at the same time, I was like, we're in a recession. I can't just be spending all this money willy-nilly. And I need to think about it. But also, I'm on the fence because I feel like it was a little bit anti-abundant because I feel like if money wasn't really the aspect, I think I would just stay with this model regardless because I liked it. I like the color of the black. I like how it feels in the hands. I like small little ergonomic parts about it. But I started thinking about the money beside it, and I was like, should I do this and I feel that part was anti-abundant. But I feel like the act of researching things that I like, or researching more expensive purchases, I like it because I feel like I learn more about the things that I'm using. And also I feel like, what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought. I feel like I end up being more happy with my decision, and I don't really have regrets after that. And it made me think about a study that I saw a long time ago. I think it was with students. It was pretty much saying how students that stress a lot about an exam and thought about it a lot and did studying because they were so stressed about it, when it came to getting the results, they were less stressed about it than students who didn't stress about the exam. And then when they got the results, they were more stressed about it. And I feel it's a good thing for me to research things because I like to stand on my decisions. And I feel like I rarely have regrets about things because I think about them really seriously. So when I make the decision, I can stand on it. So I feel like it was 50-50. It was a little anti-abundant of me to do that, but at the same time, I was I like doing that. And speaking of which, I feel like it's so hard thinking about abundance in a recession because it's you want to be abundant, you want to be Delulu is the Salulu, but it's damn bitch, we're in a recession. Well, let's think about it a little more. And it's really, it's just crazy to think about. But here I stuck with my iPad. I low-key wanted it. I knew it was the one I wanted, but I just wanted to be certain, I wanted to be sure. What else was I thinking? I feel besides that, with researching the iPad, it reminded me of how my brain really works. Not reminded me, but it just doubled down that I like research. And I feel I like my mind to critically think and to just be moving in that direction. And I feel I need to just do more of it. And I need to find more ways to build synergy between analysis and creativity. Because I feel I can really tap into spots, and I really want to find a way for them to really blend well together. I feel I would, when I was thinking about career-wise, I low-key would have liked to jump into some more research-based things. But I said last week, it's so harder. It's much harder to make pivots. I feel I do research-based stuff a bit, but I feel I would like to maybe do a little bit more than I'm doing now when it comes to my actual job and things like that. But it was just reminding me when I was doing all that research and learning about the different gear and learning about different specs and etc. It's fun. It's part of that is fun to me. So it's I really need to lock into that aspect. What else? I thought a little bit about how race affects my life. We're in a real crazy time in this country, right? And I think throughout this country history, I feel a lot of times, and in the world's history in general, when it comes to colonialism, a lot of times people do not like to confront their past, and especially with Black people, I feel they would love to try to tell us forget about it, etc. And I think a lot of people don't understand how race truly plays into the day-to-day experience because if you never experience it, you never know. And I always think about it within my life and how it actually does play a role. And I think about a few situations in my life where certain things really could have shifted an outcome if not for who I was and the types of relationships I had with people because of my race. And I think I'll just share it. And it's like, I thought about once when I was really young, really, really young. I remember there were these two white girls on my like volleyball team when I was younger, and they pretty much assumed that I was dumb. They didn't go to my exact school. In my school, we had like sections of districts, and they were from like another part of the district, but we all came together for like little sporting things. And so they didn't go to school with me, so they just assumed that I was dumb. Why did they assume that I was dumb? They don't know me. But lo and behold, I was literally the smartest student in my class at that time. So it's like, isn't that really crazy? And that's like little things. When you're younger, you don't really think about it as race and things like that. You just kind of think about like, well, these little girls are being bitches. But as you get older, you start to really understand how things are played. Now, another situation I feel like could have really changed the outcome of my life, I was talking about it with my brother, is when I was in high school, I was on the track team, and we had this track coach. And like, she was new. Our old track coach had left, and the new track coach that came, you could tell she was not really for what she was doing. Like, she was a sprinting coach. Although her daughter was a thrower, she did not seem like a sprinter at all. I don't know how she ended up coaching the sprinters, but the sprinting team was like majority black girls, and like, she always get into these little like, she would be trying people. Like, yeah. I was like minding my business. She never really tried me much. But one day, we were like downstairs in the soccer room getting our uniforms. And she was like really getting on my last nerves. So she was kind of trying me in that moment. And I was like, I'm not about to play with you, man. But she tried to end up saying that I hit her. It was just me and her down there. And she tried to say that I hit her. And I feel like as a young black kid, that really could have set my life so left. It was really lucky for me that I had a longer tenure at my school and on my team than she did. I knew the other coaches, I knew the teachers, I knew the staff. They know me. So like, well, she's a good kid. Like, she wouldn't be doing that. But what if I didn't have that type of tenure of people? What if I didn't have that relationship established? Next, I'm getting suspended. I'm getting expelled. I'm like a senior at this time, so it's time for me to go to college. That's messing up my college decisions. Next year, like, my life could have like just trickled so fast just from that incident. And I feel like that's how race plays into people's life that I don't think a lot of people really recognize and really understand. It's a fact about how fast your life can change from little things, as opposed to like when other people go through it, they don't really worry about that as much, like, because people see them more as a kid. I was also thinking about this one day. I was having this conversation with my Uber driver. He's a white Uber driver from Boston, and we were really locked in, just chopping it up about like Chicago and things like that. And we were just talking about like where the city is headed. And I was saying how like kids didn't have guidance, and like kids were just young people in our city just like are getting into like messed up things and things like that. And we were talking about like carjacking, and he revealed how like when he was younger, him and his people used to like low-key do that just for fun as kids. And I really like flipped something off my brain, like, like, it seems like really crazy. Carjacking is a crazy thing, but it reminded me that like it is kind of like a boyish thing, like a kid thing. But I feel like a lot of times, like with a black kid, it would never be seen as like, oh, kids being kids, boys being boys. Well, like as this like older white dude, he was saying like, we just did as kids, and he was able to like grow up, and like now he's like just a regular adult. Nobody would probably think about it that way for him. They don't really think about his past like that. But like, let's say like a black child like was doing joyrides in cars. That's really bad for them. Like, they're really down like a downward spiral. And I really never thought about it so deep like that, about how like that differentiator happens, until like I had that conversation with that Uber driver that one day. But I was just thinking like how like race does really play into their life. And I think too many times people just always think about like, oh, like, oh, here go these black folks doing this again, like, da 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 da. But I feel like it plays more into your life than you would know. And if you don't experience it, you wouldn't know. So I feel like that's why people need to really calm down. They need to calm down and they don't know what you're talking about, But I was just thinking about that because I was having a conversation with my brother. And with that being said, too, my brother brought another perspective into things. So my oldest brother, he was born in Ghana and he grew up in Ghana. And then he came to America for like college. Versus me and my second oldest brother, we were born here and we were raised here. And my oldest brother was telling me how he just had a different mindset about things, and like he was very happy that he didn't have to grow up with like certain implications of race at a young age, because he grew up in Ghana. Like, he was around black people all the time. And like, so when he finally came here in his kind of more adult years, like more formative years, he didn't really have as much baggage of like growing up as like a black boy in the States. And it's really crazy to think about how things like that work, and how little things in your environment and just how your upbringing plays little roles on you and compiles until you get older and affects how you act when you're older. And I think that's a common thing, because even without race in general, like your formative years, your childhood years, and you're absorbing things, they play into your adulthood a lot more than people like to kind of admit. And I thought that was like a really interesting conversation to have, and like it just brought more perspective. But I think like with talking about these things with my brother, I've been thinking about like a lot about like Ghana, which is like my motherland, or like where my ancestry is from. I was actually planning to go to Ghana straight from going to Japan, but I was like, ugh, I didn't. I'm actually happy I didn't, because like I had a lot of information to process from Japan, and I would hate to jump into another, like I have a lot of content like planned from like the next time I go to Ghana, and a lot of things I want to explore and visit. So that would have been like too much to like handle coming back. So I'm happy that I did just like do Japan first and then take some time. Then I'm gonna do Ghana. But speaking of which, I want to learn a lot more about my ancestry. But I feel like with that being said, there is like not enough of a repository of information about like history and like I feel like a lot of African nations. I was talking to my brother, and he was saying how like when he was growing up, history was just like not a robust subject. Like there were like fews and twos of things that they teach you, but you don't get this like robust kind of like profound learning of like the history of the nations. I feel like it's really sad, because like I think about how like I want to learn a lot more about pre-colonialism, pre-slavery history, but I just don't think like a lot of that documentation is there. I think part of it has to do with just customs. I think maybe a lot of like African customs and like West African customs probably play a role in with oral communication and like oral passing of that history. I feel like now I think more of that stuff is getting lost, and I just can't, it just makes me so sad to think about like all the information that would just be like saying goodbye with like older generations. Like I think about my mom, like my mom said a lot of things with her parents. Like she was telling me how like there's like two spectrums of life that like, how do I say it? Like my mom was around and like was in my family, and like within her parents, like her dad, she mentioned, was a healer, and my mom mentioned how like when she was younger, like she would help like her dad find and like source different types of herbs and stuff like that, because he used to do medicinal things. And then like her mom was like a doula for both birth and death. So like her mom birthed kids and also like passed people on. And I was like, damn, that's just like so much, like spiritually and just energy wise. There's just so many things that you can learn from. And I think like at the time, I don't think my mom like retained as much of it, partially because like she had to survive. Like she came to another country, and like my mom has been through a fair share of things, and like she had to survive. So maybe her focus wasn't necessarily about like retaining what she was probably thinking of, like everyday day-to-day things to her. But it makes me feel sad to think like that would like leave. And I feel really sad because like I can't speak my mother tongues. I can't speak Twi, and then like my mom's tribe is Ewe, so they speak like Dangbe. I can't speak that either, and I'm like, dang, I wish I could communicate more with my grandma. Like my grandma came to visit the States. I felt so bad because she like asked me little things, and I could not understand that lady, and I was like, dang. And there's just like so much knowledge there, and I'm like, I don't want that to leave. It's like next time I go to Ghana, I'm gonna have to grab like a cousin or something that speaks it and speaks English, so I can like really lock in on some knowledge and some memory. But I was thinking about that a lot, like based on like the conversation I was having with my brother this week. Let's see, what else was I thinking about? Ooh, hold on. Passes I watch. I was looking at the analytics of like my past videos for like the thrifting videos. And one, I'm happy with the demographic that my videos are leading towards. I feel like it's leaning towards people in my age demographic, which I think is easier to connect with, I think. And it lets me stay up to date with my age versus like, let's say like my content gears a lot towards like younger people. So I have to be perceived in a certain way by younger people. I feel like I'm happy that like my age group and older are watching my videos. And I feel like that's what I resonate with. So that's where I can like stand in as far as like how I present myself online, because I know it can be received in that way. And I was also like seeing little things like one of my video, like my thrifting video, a lot of people watched it on their TVs. And I was like, that's weird. So I was like, what type of people, like does it have to do with like income? Does it have to do with like age, that like people watch certain things on TV more than like certain demographics? So I thought that was interesting. I've mentioned before, like I like that I have a little bit more in my analytics now. I think that I have like more history of videos and like more people watching. I like that I can like look at it a bit deeper. I really enjoy that aspect, and I'm just excited to like learn more and see where I can do with it. Like for example, like testing thumbnails, being able to like really understand like visually what is working and what doesn't work to like move forward. I really enjoy that aspect of it. And I've also been thinking like a lot about how I like go about my videos. I feel like the thrifting in Japan was like one form of content. This week, I like did an all-nighter to like post back-to-back weeks, because I really wanted to like try my hand at like editing like my typical type vlogs and like a little bit of a different style. I think about that a lot, about how I ended those vlogs, because like I try to be really intentional about how I do like my travel videos, like I don't ever want it to be like overly romanticized, because I really want those videos to be kind of perceived as I'm experiencing them and as they are. I want travel to feel accessible. I don't want it to be like overly romanticized where it seems like this far off distant thing to people, where they're like, dang, they see me doing all this stuff and it looks like a movie and and like it kind of doesn't feel as accessible to them. I want it to be something where it's like you can like see things a bit through my eyes. But at the same time, I knew that I kind of wanted to refine it. It's like this week I got a chance to like test it out a bit of like trying little different aspects. And I think I'm like having a happy medium. I'm pulling from like what I did with the thrifting in Japan video, like a little bit of analysis and like a bit more of like sharing my thought process. Because I realized with my like general like travel videos where I'm like walking around and doing my things, you don't always get to see like what is going on in my head. I do say some things, but I feel like there's a lot that goes into like just like my planning and what I think about, and just as I'm experiencing them. So like I feel like I added a bit more of that to the videos, and I added a bit more of that form and that storytelling in a way that was like, it was easier because like I can stick to chronological order and I can still storytell well that way. But I just was able to just do a bit more, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm happy with like the direction it's going, and I'm happy to keep testing things as I move forward. Like I used to be worried about like how I color correct things, because like I said, I want it to be pretty, like as I see it, you see it, you know? But I tested a bit more about like I have like a certain preset of like color corrections that I've done, which I want to be like a visual identifier in my videos. And I tried it out on this video, and I'm happy that it worked well. Like it didn't really seem too out of the way. And I think it also just adds this like, yeah, you're seeing it as I'm seeing it, but like there's a bit of me to it as well, you know? Like that storytelling through like color grading is a bit of like me within that perspective. So I'm like happy with how that turned out, and I'm happy to just be playing around a bit more. I think like the next thing I'll just do is just to make sure that video quality is a little better. I really love filming with my iPhone. Like I said, it's just like so nimble, but in the future I might see if like I play around more with what I shoot with. I'll probably add more of my Sony to shooting those type of videos as well. But like I said, it's so hard to be more nimble with my Sony, because like when it comes to editing posts, it's like it's like shaky footage and da. So I like a mix of both. I do like the iPhone footage, but like I'll be thinking about a little bit more gear wise and like how I can get clearer content visually wise in the future. For now, it's going to be the iPhone for a long time, but I will be playing around it a bit more. Let's see what else I've been thinking about. I've also been thinking about like the ecosystem of all my channels. I'm actually very happy. Like some people probably say like, oh, you're wearing yourself too thin, like you need to focus on one thing, but I'm actually happy about like what I have established. I have a vision, and I just have a vision for like all my channels to like flow in this seamless ecosystem. And I think doing it this way will allow for like a lot more possibilities. And I'm just like really like looking forward and like really excited for hopefully like the opportunities that come from it being set up that way. Because I was thinking to myself, like with this channel, as I'm like growing it a bit and I think about like income from like my creativity and like monetization, like I'm very wary about like certain sponsorships, because like I'm the type of person, like when I use a thing, I stand beside it. Like I use what I like for a long time. I don't need to be trying a whole bunch of things. So like I wouldn't want to sell a whole bunch of things. So I like, as far as like monetization goes, I don't know like how far I can give like brand sponsorships. It would only probably be like a handful of like branding things. But I feel like with like my food channel, I love trying food. Like give me all the options, give me all the things to explore. So like when it comes to like brand partnerships, I can do more there. Or like when it comes to like my pottery video, I can do a different type of like brand collaboration and work. So like I'm happy like I'm setting this up now. And like now that I'm seeing the vision come together more. Like one day, like a long time ago, I've always said to myself like, when things work out, I want it to like fall like dominoes. Like once it's set off, it like pops off, and like I hope it works out that way. But I've been thinking about like how to make that ecosystem more seamless. I'm thinking about like website wise in general, and like how to pull the audience base that I built here. I've been just thinking about those things a lot. But that's where my mind has been. Yesterday was such a nice day outside. I took me a walk by the lake, and it made me feel so good to see how so many people were like enjoying their day outside. Like so many people were fishing, and it was just like so cute to me. Like people were having their like bro day out fishing and chilling by the lake. Some people just walked, some people sat down and read. I saw this like dude, I think he was with their daughters or something, and they were like flying kites. And I think it was like the funniest thing. Like one of the dudes, he had a cig in his mouth and he was just like flying his little kite, like And I just love that imagery and that scenery. I low-key think I'm gonna do like a little doodle series of like the fishing and like the kite thing, because I love seeing that. It was just like good to see how people were enjoying their day. Like spring makes me so happy because like it's literally a rebirth season and you literally feel that in your bones. Like as soon as that weather, especially being in Chicago, as soon as that weather starts to get nice, oh, I'm so excited for like more of the spring and more of the summertime. Although I love winter, and I think traveling in the winter, I was always apprehensive about traveling during the winter, but this Japan trip just set it off for me. I love winter trips now. Like it was such a good winter wonderland trip, but I do love my fall, not my fall, but I do love my spring. Mostly spring and then like maybe early summer. Like the heat, that excess heat, it's like, but like I really love that rebirth of spring. But I felt good this week. Anywho, I was also really tired. Oh my gosh, I don't know why. I need to wash my hair. Have you like, oh my gosh, dealing with your hair? I took my hair down and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have energy. But then I ended up doing all these other things and then I had less and less energy to like wash my hair and like do my hair. So I have to like wash my hair this week and that's gonna be like a lot. But alas, this week was a good week. Looking forward to next week. And that's it for me. Bye.